Welcome to the Three-Piece Combo MMA show brought to you by the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I'm your host, Johnathan, aka Three-Piece Combo, and today we're going to go over Bellator 263 and the epic conclusion of the Bellator Featherweight Grand Prix with AJ McKee getting the win, ending up getting the beautiful knockout win over Patricio Pitbull. He called his shot, man. He did his Babe Ruth. He called it. He said he was going to get the first round finish, and that's what he did. He ended up getting the first round finish. So congratulations to AJ McKee to getting that first round, for getting the finish. I mean, overall, what a great story it is for Bellator because this guy is coming in. He's a fully homegrown product, and I think this is something that's unique to Bellator is the fact that they're able to build fighters on multiple levels, right? They have their fighters that are beginning their amateur career, starting with an 0-0 record, don't really have much as far as a background, right? They're not coming in as established as guys coming into the UFC. But the benefit of this is now you're creating homegrown stars. And that's what AJ McKee was. This is a guy that's not fought anywhere else. He's only fought in Bellator. I believe he's coming off. He's finishing now tonight. He's going up to 17-0, I believe, 18-0. He's coming in 17-0, leaving 18-0, leaving $1 million richer, and he's now the featherweight champion of the world. And he's only 26 years old. So Bellator has really done a great job of just home growing this guy. He's had spectacular finish after spectacular finish, and tonight was no exception. I mean, he was coming out. He threw a couple of kicks to start off the fight. Fight was pretty slow for about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. But after he went up with that left high kick and just rocked Pitbull, dropped him with the uppercut, and he actually walked away because he thought that was at the end of the fight. Pitbull was still a little bit there. I can see why he said he thought he finished him, but Pitbull was still kind of a little bit there. But then he goes and he hops in. He gets that guillotine in tight. Pitbull goes out. You can see it. You can see when he let goes that Pitbull is coming back to his own. You know that he's out. But man, phenomenal finish by AJ McKee, and he gets the Grand Prix dub and he gets the win. So let's take a quick look at everything that went on tonight because there was honestly, a pretty good Bellator card overall. I think Bellator, the UFC card was really good as well, but Bellator just had a lot more hype going into it. But as we see at the top, the main event, AJ McKee getting the dub over Patricio Pitbull, and man, it was great. It was absolutely great. I mean, the way he just did it, you call your shot. Sometimes it's a lot more difficult when you call your shot. But what he did is he called the body kick. He called the body kick instead of the head kick, and I think that was a really smart move of him because the way he set up that kick, and I saw it a little bit earlier in the fight. He was going for a right leg. It looked like maybe to a front leg body kick, right? And you saw Pitbull go down and drop his arms for that body kick to kind of guard and ward off that body kick. And I was saying to myself, I was like, all right, he feinted the body kick. He got the reaction he wanted. Next time, if he fakes to the body and goes to the head, it's going to be a good night for Pitbull. And it was absolutely exactly what happened. He was able to land that beautiful head kick by setting up the feint to the body, gets that done, drops him with the uppercut, and that was it for Pitbull. And man, after going out and winning his last fight the way he did, wrapping up that guillotine, getting it done in the first round, just finishing Emmanuel Sanchez, who was also on the card tonight, who also put up a great fight in the co-main event. For him to do that and then come out and lose to AJ McKee in that fight just the way he did shows to the level of talent that McKee is. And he's really a high-end fighter. I think he proved a lot of people wrong, including myself. I wasn't sure what the ceiling of this guy was. I wasn't sure if he was coming in and if he was that guy, right? You're not so sure. Sometimes they're fighting. You don't want to call them trash cans, but some of the fights, the earlier fights aren't as high level competition as you would see, of course, in like a UFC, right? Those higher level fights would come right away in the UFC because you're fighting guys that are coming established. But in for Bellator, you're not fighting the guys that are quite established. You're fighting a lot of different guys, maybe guys that are on one fight contracts, just coming in for one fight or two fights, guys that aren't really super established. And until this tournament, I think this is really where he established that he is the future of Bellator, and maybe he's the guy that carries that Bellator banner, right? It was Michael Chandler for a very long time. I mean, before that, it was a little bit different. The Bellator era was a little different, where it was more the older guys of the UFC, but they're venturing into a new era now, and we could see it in the entire card about how just everybody, all these guys are young athletes on the come up. They're not really focusing as much, right? They're still getting those Yoel Romeros, those Rumble Johnsons. They're still getting the guys with star power in there, but I still think they're doing a much better job of getting younger talent and developing that younger talents to be a lot more legit. I want to say what's up to my boy Alex joining me in the chat. He said we need him in UFC ASAP. He's ready. That's a good point. I'm not sure, and we can talk about it a little bit. It's curious how he would fare in the UFC. I do think he would be in the rankings for sure. And Mauro Ronaldo, bless that man. He's definitely the best commentator, maybe behind John Anik for as far as commentating goes. I mean, I'm biased for John Anik because Mauro Ronaldo is phenomenal at what he does. But he said that Bellator had the best featherweight division, and I'll beg to differ with that. Max Holloway puts every one of those guys in Bellator to sleep. Alexander Volkanovski puts all those guys in. Alex M saying Chandler was ready for UFC two-way before this. That's true as well. Chandler came in. He maybe I think 3 years ago he signed a deal with Bellator before he signed this new deal with the UFC. So you're right. He's overstayed. I don't want to say overstayed, but he stayed longer in Bellator to continue to develop himself. And I'm curious to see if AJ McKee will do that as well, because you can throw him in a fight with Yair Rodriguez. You can throw him in a fight with a bunch of different guys, ranked, you know, maybe 5 to 10. If he comes in right away, you can throw him against a couple of guys. So I think that'd be a really interesting thing. Let's say what's up to Joseph Rodriguez saying Moro is good, but didn't he seem a little off his game tonight? I agree. I feel like he mellowed out a little bit. I feel like he wasn't as enthusiastic as Mauro Ronaldo normally is. I love the enthusiastic Mauro Ronaldo. I love the guy that's throwing pop culture references and everything. Just being super colorful as far as being that color commentator guy. Moro did seem a little bit off though. I felt like he wasn't as like I said, ecstatic or as colorful tonight in using different references, crazy, outlandish speech patterns. But yeah, I hope he comes back because I love Moro, man. Moro's great, whether it's MMA or which I think he does a much better job, or I guess you can do a lot better with pro wrestling. He's great there. He's great there. Alex M saying Pitbull seemed to melt with the pressure. It did seem that way, right? It did seem that. I'm not sure if that's the correct way to say that, but it seemed that way for sure. It seemed like once McKee started putting the pressure on, he backed up immediately. He didn't really throw anything, and I think we've been seeing that a little bit lately with these later fights of Pitbull, is that he's starting to be Tyron Woodley-esque, right? You can't say that. I mean, he's still winning fights, but he's being a little more patient in the first couple rounds. He's not being as aggressive. He doesn't come out as hot as he used to. Now he's coming out. He's waiting a little more. He's a little more patient, and maybe he doesn't want to burn himself out. He's a champion. He wants to last all 5 rounds if it goes that far. But I think it was very interesting to see him be patient and then see the contrasting style of AJ McKee go get it and get that dub. Media and all the pre-fight stuff. I didn't get to catch all the media with the Bellator stuff, but yeah, very interesting observation. I'm not sure as far as before the fight how it was, but I do think yeah, during the fight he definitely melted. I think he melted for sure. But I want to take a look at the top UFC rankings just real quick because I want to see. Let me put this as a headliner up real quick. Who would AJ McKee fight if he were to come to the UFC? What do you guys think? Everybody that's watching, or if anybody's watching this after in the after this gets recorded live, I want to know if AJ McKee were to cross over to the UFC in the featherweight division, top 10, who do you think he would best match up with? Who do you think would be a good first fight for him? Because I mean, I think the guy's talented, but I'm not sure if he's on that level just yet. I mean, of course, what he did to Pitbull tonight was phenomenal, right? You can't take anything away from the guy at all because he's just he's killing it, man. I really feel like he's shown in Bellator that he's able to do it. But just like we saw with Michael Chandler, he put Dan Hooker down, but Bellator and the UFC are two different stories. And I think we'll get to see a little bit more of how real Michael Chandler is after he fights Justin Gaethje, which actually just got made. But I'm not sure how well he goes. So let's take a look at the top 5 rankings, or let's just take a look at the top 10. Of course, Alexander Volkanovski is champ. Maybe Dan Ige, right? Edson Barboza, that's a even Giga, right? Let's start 10 go up. Giga Chikadze. I think he would be able to beat Giga, right? I think Giga's, or I'm not sure if it's Giga or Giga, but Giga's a great kickboxing. He has great kicks. He has that knockout power as well. So I think that would be a tough fight for him. Barboza is another tough fight for him as well. Dan Ige. Ige is a guy that can knock you out real quick. Those are 3 guys there that aren't super patient like Pitbull, right? They'll match that tempo with you a little bit more. Dan Ige is a little more patient, right? He'll give you that one punch knockout power, but I think it's a little more dangerous there. Going into Josh Emmett, man, I mean, Josh Emmett's one of those guys that just doesn't go down. Arnold Allen, he has that takedown ability. Does that, how does that match up with the submission ability of AJ McKee? How do the submissions that he's able to attempt in Bellator translate over to UFC? Because I feel like a lot of time in Bellator, you see a lot more unique submissions, where in UFC, that shit gets snuffed out real quick, right? That shit does not last in the UFC with as far as strange, weird, awkward, submissions. Alex M saying, love to see him 7 through 10. I think that would be best for him. I think, maybe a Josh Emmett or a Dan Ige, that'd be good. I know, I'm not, obviously some of these guys have fights. I think Giga is fighting Barboza, I want to say. Not sure on that one. But, as far as a hypothetical goes, I think that would be interesting matchup for sure. But let's take a look at the rest of this card. The rest of this card was really good. I think we had a really cool storyline going on here. Khabib Nurmagomedov going 3-0 as a coach. Well, real quick, I'm going to answer this. Who in the top 10 matches his length? What are the specifics of AJ McKee? I'm not sure exactly what the his reach is. Let me take a look and see what it is. Let me find it real quick. Drop me his reach in the comments real quick. Drop me his reach in his comments, because I'm not sure how his reach is in comparison to UFC fighter. So drop his reach in the comments, and I'll check that out, because I definitely want to. I'm curious that as well. He seems like a pretty long guy. When you look at him versus Pitbull, definitely has the height advantage. Seems like he's a longer guy. I definitely think he would have a good length advantage. But these guys in the UFC, as far as the featherweight division, they're so long and lanky, right? Even look at 135. You have Corey Sandhagen, 73, right? So cool. So now I can go UFC stats and pull up some of that. And I'll show you guys the process. Always take a look at the process. Don't want to leave you guys out in the blank. Let's see. Fighters. Who are we looking for again? Let's start with Giga. Okay, so here's a 74-inch reach. So Giga has a better reach than AJ McKee. Is Barboza, is he? Yeah, 75-inch. So he has a better reach. Who else is in the top 10 there? We saw Josh Emmett, I believe. Emmett's in there too. Let's see if that's spelled wrong. Gosh. 70. Okay, so he would match up really well against Emmett, but Emmett is a one mother trucker that can take a lot of damage. That dude does not go down. So, I mean, he's 5'10", so that's a good height for that class, or for that weight class. Let me see how he matches up against Dan Ige. I feel like he would tower over Dan Ige comparatively. Let's see. And Ige, yeah, because Ige is 5'7", 71 should reach. I think him and Dan Ige would be a good matchup. I think he would be good against him. I think that's a matchup where he can use his range, and he can also use his takedown ability, right? Ige is a good fighter. Let's see his takedown defense. Let's see if we can pull that up. Let's look at our boy Dan. Takedown defense, 55%. So pretty decent, right? Pretty decent, but not something crazy. So I think if AJ McKee were to come to the UFC, he can probably, right now, right? Right now, he would probably be somewhere in the 6 through 10s. Because if you look at the guys above that, let me pull that up, show you guys. You look at the guys above, 6. Arnold Allen, I feel like that's a guy that just has too much top control. Calvin Kattar, man, he's also another one of these guys that are tough. Leg kicks, that's true. Leg kicks, I mean, Barboza's leg kicks, all these guys' leg kicks have great. All these guys have really, really good leg kicks. Volkanovski has great leg kicks. I don't think he could do anything against Ortega. Ortega would sub him. Yair is an interesting matchup. TKZ, Korean Zombie, Chan Sung Jung. That might be an interesting one. So I think he could be in the mix. If I'm him, though, I think I wait a little bit longer. I think you just became the Bellator champion, right? You're 26 years old. You're 18-0 now. Take another 2 or 3 more years and stay in Bellator. Develop your skills. Get that championship mentality, right? Develop that championship mentality to where you understand how to win fights and how to do it in multiple ways, how to overcome different obstacles. Because now at the top of the 145-pound division for Bellator, he like we talked about a little bit earlier, he's kind of the new era of what Bellator is going to be, which is these up and comer guys becoming champions. And we saw it earlier tonight with Khabib's crew, right? His crew went 3-0 tonight, and I think their combined record. I think we can go back to Tapology. I mean, if we look at Usman Nurmagomedov, he's 13-0 now. Islam Mamedov, he's 20-1. There's one more. I think it was him. Kasan Magomedov, 6-0. Look at all these guys. 6-0, 20-1. So that's 26-1, 13-1. So that's 39-1. Khabib's army is coming in here with 39-1 in Bellator. And man, Khabib as a coach is absolutely killing it. So I want to talk about that a little bit. Khabib as a coach going 3-0. Hey, for real, for real. Coach Khabib is nothing to mess with. Look at the army he's building with. Let's take a look at this fight. Was that the co-main event? No, that was not the co-main event. But we'll take a look at these first because I want to break these down. We'll definitely get to that Sanchez Burnell fight because that was a great fight as well. Curious on the scorecards. I think Burnell did enough to win, so I don't want to argue the win by Burnell. But I think the scorecards for sure was a little bit off, especially on those 30-27s. Not sure how you can see that right there. I mean, if you look at the Bellator, or not the Bellator, the Tapology votes previous to this fight, 98% going to Nurmagomedov, 2% going Muro. 2% going Muro. And man, what Nurmagomedov did was absolutely crazy. And if you did not see it, let me talk about it a little bit. So round one, the beginning of round one, Usman lands some nice head kicks. Muro was actually guarding it up pretty well. He was blocking it, but man, Usman was able to, as soon as he was able to get close, he grabbed in a clinch. And what he tries to do, which is pretty interesting, and I like it, right? As he's dragging Muro down for the takedown, he's also trying to hop on the back at the same time. Now, this does allow Muro to defend the takedown a little bit better because he's able to kind of get that tripod position. He has that hand on the floor because Usman's not going for hand control. He's going for back control. And I think, man, what Usman does, it's very, very, it's great, man. Just to see another young guy. How old is he? Do we have the age here? He's only 23 years old. Wow. This guy's only 23 years old and he already has a bunch of first round knockouts. Let's look at his does he have a thingamabobber? One of those stat sheets that we can pull up real quick. Right. So he has 8 wins by knockout. He has 3 wins by submission. Only 2 decisions he's gone to. Man, this is his second fight in Bellator. I think this might be his third, actually. Yeah, this was his second. Correct. This was his second. So 13-0, and the way that he does it, phenomenal. Gets the ground control. Like I said, he goes to jump on the back as he was going for the takedown, and it doesn't work. But he's able to get the takedown, right? But he's trying to get the back at the same time, which is cool. I think that's awesome for him to do because once he masters that, game over, right? He can get the takedown. That combat sambo of those Dagestani guys ain't no joke. So Muro is able to get back up. Usman actually wins it by locking up in not necessarily a Muay Thai clinch. I think he had double underhooks or he was half and half, but he gets a beautiful knee to the solar plexus and it drops Muro. And after that, ground and pound, that's it. Usman Nurmagomedov, I believe it's Khabib's cousin. One of these guys are Khabib's cousin. One of them is his nephew or something like that. Man, he just has a whole army out there. But he's now 13-0 with his 8th win via via knockout. So, man, Usman Nurmagomedov getting that win, absolutely phenomenal. I think he's another one of these guys that are just part of the army that he's raising. Like I said, 39-1 is the combined record of all of these guys coming out of Dagestan, fighting under Khabib and Javier Mendez, right? I don't want to, not give Javier Mendez any credit here because he's just as much as important as coaching these Dagestani guys as Khabib is. But the way that Khabib has stepped into this coach role after the passing of his father, absolutely phenomenal. I want to get to these comments real quick. Alex M. saying, I love how he steps back and let the fighter be in the light. A lot of coaches like attention. That's true, man. I mean, Khabib is one of these guys that he's a man's man, right? He's one of the most guys that are just heavy on respect, heavy on making sure that the right thing is happening, right? There's no ill will on anything that he does. I think Khabib is just one of these guys that he understands how to play his role perfectly, right? As a fighter, he was, he would be there. And of course, with the Conor fight, it's a little bit different. If you look at his other fights, though, he's now a guy that was really, outrageous in the trash talk. He'll get you down the ring. He'll talk to you in the ring. But he was a guy that was almost always all about respect. So that's something that's really cool to see. I think he does a great job coaching his fighters. I think he stepped into the role beautifully. I think the way he's coaching them, raising that next generation of Dagestan wrestlers, whether it be, the three tonight, Usman or, Mamedov or any of these guys tonight, or if it's, Islam Makhachev, over in UFC, just everyone that he's taking under his wing is doing great. And, to your point, absolutely, man, fighting anyone from Dagestan is like fighting a wet towel. It's like fighting a wet towel that's wet with like concrete, because those towels don't let go, man. It sticks to you and you're absolutely fried after the end of that. Usman, a future Bellator champ. What division is he in? He's at 155. And I believe, if I'm correct, Pitbull is the champion at 155. I can see that happening. I can definitely see that happening. I'm not sure when. I'm not sure how long they're gonna, boost Usman's portfolio until they have him actually fight maybe somebody in that ranking system, because they did develop that ranking system in Bellator. I'm not sure how much they're gonna, really just try to let him grow as a fighter, because I do think it's important to, you don't want to rush the rankings, right? You definitely want to let him grow as well. So let me actually throw up the lightweight rankings for you guys on the Bellator, so you guys can see who maybe would be a decent fight. Featherweight, lightweight, right? So right now, if we're looking at it, we had a couple of guys fight tonight. Yamauchi fought tonight. He fought, who was it? He fought somebody tonight. I'll let you guys know just now. But right now, obviously, Pitbull is the top. Sydney Outlaw right below that. Benson Henderson, Peter Queally. Yamauchi fought tonight. I think he won. I think he won by knockout. And then Jury, Gonzalez, Shabali, Moray, Piccolotti, sorry. Not sure if you want to put Usman there just yet. Not sure if you want to see that just yet. But I think he's definitely on his way. I think you give him 2 or 3 more fights. Let him be like 22, or like not 22, like 24, 25. And then you put him in there. And then by the time he's 26, you have him in that AJ McKee situation. Now you have this guy. Maybe you have him in the tournament, right? You have him go on a little win streak. You throw him in a lightweight tournament. Boom. Now he's the winner of there. And that's where you can go. I've seen a video of his father coaching Octagon side. He always wanted everyone to be quiet. It's very interesting. Very interesting. Maybe it's just a focus thing, right? It's always about a mentality thing when it comes to those guys from Dagestan. So excellent job by Usman Nurmagomedov getting the job done. Want to talk about the other fight that happened, the fight between Islam Mamedov and Brent Primus. So if you didn't see this fight, let me go ahead and break it down for you real quick. So round 1, the fight actually starts pretty slow, but Mamedov gets the takedown with 2 minutes left. But here's where it gets interesting, right? Primov is actually very active from his back. And for the entire first round, I don't think that Islam was very offensive. He was stuck in the guard. They were talking about omoplatas and different platas and parry the platypuses and different things out there. And you know, I had to give the first round to Primov. I really think that Primov got that first round. Granted, Usman did have the top position. I think Primov was attempting a lot of subs off his back. Round two, grappling exchanges right away. They actually get into the clinch right away. Mamedov was able to get in side control, but that's another round where it's a pretty much a stalemate on the ground. These guys were Usman was, or sorry, Islam was on top, but Primov again just going submission after submission. And shout out to whoever his flexibility coach is, because this guy's hips, I'm pretty sure he probably could put both legs behind his heads, man. I mean, this guy's hips are great. The way he was able to try to lock up arms, go for Kimuras, omoplatas, different submissions. He was great off the ground. Again, third round, Mamedov actually threw a low kick as Primov threw a high kick, so it was kind of like a sweep kind of trip. He was able to get that top position, and then same exact thing. I don't want to sound like I'm repeating myself, but it's pretty much the same thing that happened again. He's able to get the top position, stuck in an omoplata, fighting out of submissions, not really doing much on top. Now they give the fight as a split decision to Islam, right? And you can't really argue it too much because he did have the top position, he did have the control. And as a fighter, even if you're attempting subs off the bottom, you're still off the bottom. So that's, you always think that the control will go to the other guy. But at the end of the day, Islam's able to get the win, and he beats Brent Primus in a split decision. Like I said, I thought Brent Primus did enough to win. I think, if I'm correct, the only loss that Primus has was to Michael Chandler in Bellator. Yeah, his only loss, I think you guys can see this as well. His only loss in Bellator was to Michael Chandler. And of course, he actually fought submission on the ground, which is very interesting. I didn't know that. It's pretty cool. Just shows how good he is on the ground as well. No wonder he was throwing up omoplatas and different submissions. But I mean, your only loss is to Michael Chandler. You actually beat him. I guess it was a doctor stoppage. But his only loss before this fight was to Michael Chandler, and now you have the only other guy, Islam Mamedov. So Islam putting himself in pretty good company there, getting this win over Primov. And it's another guy. It's one of these other guys that his record's 20-1 now, if I'm correct, 20-1. How often has he fought in Bellator? So he actually fought in PFL a little bit. Oh, that's awesome. So he fought in Bellator. He won the tonight. I guess tonight was his Bellator debut. But he fought in the PFL in 2018. He's fighting over there. So he fought PFL 2018 and 2019. Fights in the UAE. I think that's over in Russia. Oh, I'm so stupid, right? Obviously, it's Abu Dhabi. But he gets that done. But man, Islam, one of these guys, I think he's more likely to get a title fight much sooner than Usman. Hard to beat fighters you can't sub, out wrestle, or out coach. Yeah, man, you're not gonna sub him, right? He's too good on the ground to get subbed. You're not gonna get top position because his wrestling is better than yours. Even if you get top position, he's gonna sweep you, and he's gonna be able to get on top. So, man, and like you said, as Khabib and Javier Mendez as a coach, you can't have a better tag team. It's pretty rare. Maybe Mike Brown. You have these individual guys. The other guy from Faraz Sahabi, another good coach as well. Really hard to outcoach these guys. But Coach Khabib and then Kassan going 6-0. And like we were talking about before, look at some of these rankings of these guys, right? Some of these records, right? 6-0, 3-5, 8-3. They're still building these guys up. So I think it's good what they're doing here. But Coach Khabib, 3-0 on the night, getting it done. Dagestan stand up. Let's talk about this co-main event. What an epic co-main event. Very interesting co-main event. I did not agree with the scorecards at all. Burnell. I'm going to put this as the header real quick. Mads Burnell defeats Emmanuel Sanchez in the co-main event. Let's get the header up. Boom, boom, boom. Cool, cool. But yeah, man, some of the scorecards ended up being 30-27. I think two of the scorecards ended up being 30-27. But let's talk about this fight. If you did not get to watch this fight, I'm going to break it down for you real quick. Fight, freaking best fight of the night, for sure. I mean, the most exciting fight was obviously the main event because of the $1 million. But this fight was definitely fight of the night, in my opinion. There was just everything to it: takedowns, grappling exchanges, volume, shots being landed. Phenomenal fight. Phenomenal fight. So Sanchez starts off throwing heavy volume. He's just throwing 4 or 5 three-piece combos. Follow me on Twitter if you guys have not yet. Also, like the video as well. Appreciate you guys doing that and checking me out this late at night. But throwing combinations, getting, just shots over and over, 4 or 5 6-piece combinations, going to the head, going to the body. Burnell able to get the takedown, but it was only a minute left in the round, right? And Sanchez was actually able to get back up and land more volume, but he does get a second takedown with like 10 seconds left. So some of the judges gave that first round to Burnell. Not sure how you can do that, especially when the striking advantage was probably close to 35-18. I think he doubled them up on significant strikes. So I thought Sanchez won the first round. Going into the second round, Sanchez, again, able to land a lot of volume, throwing a lot of combinations. And once again, Burnell able to get the takedown. Sanchez gets back up, but and it continues to attack the body. Now, Burnell gets another takedown here, and this one was a little bit longer. There was a minute on the time clock. So here I wrote down, I wasn't sure if it was 1-1 or it was 2-0 Sanchez, but it was definitely a close fight going into the third round. I didn't think that in any way that Burnell was going up 2-0. But again, Burnell actually starts the third round really well, able to get the takedown. Sanchez actually a really good spot in the fight where Sanchez, he uses the camera that's on the big screen, looks up to see where Burnell is because Burnell has his back, and he starts throwing elbows using the camera and the big screen. So some great veteran awareness from Sanchez there. I thought that was a great spot. Sanchez able to actually just scramble, flip the position, get on top from having his back taken by Burnell. Burnell able to flip the position back, get back on top, finish the round on top, and then we end up getting unanimous decision, Mads Burnell over Emmanuel Sanchez. Like I said, I think it was I would have had it 2-0 or 2-1, sorry, via Emmanuel Sanchez. I can see 2-1 going to Burnell because Burnell definitely had a lot more control in that second round. He was able to get that top position. So I can see why you gave Burnell the fight. But 30-27, man. For those judges that gave Burnell the first round, I don't know what you're watching. Because you don't get beat up on the feet for 4 minutes and then get a takedown with 30 seconds left, and that takedown dictates the scoring. That makes absolutely no sense. These judges are absolute idiots. Like, absolute idiots. I don't know what the hell they're watching. Sometimes I feel like they're just paying attention to something else. Maybe they have something interesting going on their phone, right? Maybe they like baseball more. Maybe they like watching, soccer. Maybe they're fans of the Olympics and they want to watch water polo, or they want to go watch, backyard, dirt racing or something else, because these referees are not paying attention to the fight at all. I don't know what these referees or these judges are ever watching, because everybody, it's pretty unanimous. You're going anywhere in social media, you go on any, judging scorecard website where the scorecards are being given out by, MMA media members. They're giving their own scorecards. How are these judges the only ones getting it wrong? Consistently getting it wrong. These guys are idiots. These guys do not know what they're doing. We need better judges because of these idiots, we have fighters taking home half their pay. And we have fighters taking losses when they should be on streaks. Judges should not dictate somebody's pay, especially when they're goddamn idiots and they don't know how to do their job. Makes no sense. Why are these judges so bad everywhere? How hard is it to find some good judges? Like, seriously, what does MMA, Bellator, UFC, anybody need to do? Alex M saying boxing judges score MMA. I see that too, but you know what? I was actually I was watching some of the older UFCs. It's some of the same guys. If you've been judging UFC for 5 years, you should be able to do a decent job of it. I don't care if you've only been here for 4 years or 3 years, right? I'm sure there's people that have been watching. I've only started watching UFC consistently, I think 2017. So it's just 4 years, and that's weekly from that time. I mean, I can judge a fucking card better than that. You know, it makes no sense why these judges who have been here for years, watching fight after fight after fight, they go in meetings, they have books of criteria. Makes no sense. And then, like you said, Alex, Dana blames the commissions but he doesn't do a fucking damn thing about it. He ends up being the same way. The fighter still gets screwed. He still makes his money because he doesn't change what happens to him. He's just getting more publicity now. At the end of the day, he doesn't, these judges are messing with the fighters. But I do think it was a correct decision. Mads Burnell, or not a correct decision, but I do think it was made sense. But I did not like the scorecards on that one. Not at all. Talked about Usman. Great fight by Usman. Islam, great fight as well. Talk about that opening fight. Amazing 1-2 combination by Yamauchi over Chris Gonzalez. I believe that's a number 8 division. No, actually, these guys aren't ranked yet. No, they are ranked. I do believe they're ranked. Yeah, Yamauchi was ranked. So let's pull that up so you guys can see that real quick. We are at lightweight, I believe. Yeah, so Yamauchi, 25-5. He's going up against Chris Gonzalez, unranked. Yamauchi gets the win. These guys apparently are, ground experts. Yamauchi coming in, and he has a tremendous amount of ground wins. If I'm correct, I think he has 20 subs. How many subs does this man have? Man has 20 submissions. That's nuts. Let me change the banner real quick. Appreciate you guys staying up this late. It's 1:22 a.m. after a phenomenal Bellator card. Wrapping up this right here. Great fights. Honestly, the main card was great. And Gonzalez took a lick in that fight, man. Here we go. Yeah, 20 submissions. This was only his second TKO. So great end for Yamauchi. Able to get the TKO win. Able to stay in that main event scene. And he's still top 5. Might see him move up a little bit higher. Maybe you throw Gonzalez to the Nurmagomedov. That's a good feeding, right? You can throw that 155. I guess it was a catch weight at 160, but probably at 155. Yeah, you can throw him to Usman. That would be a great fight. Let's take a look at the main event for UFC. Didn't get to catch the whole thing, unfortunately, but I did get to catch a main event. Man, Uriah Hall looked bad. This was the worst I've seen Uriah Hall look ever. Yeah, it is crazy, and I think it's just showing that the tides are changing, man. The UFC isn't the only outlet for MMA anymore. With Bellator getting this Showtime deal, I think this is huge. It's huge for them because now they have a legit guy, a legit promotion backing them up. And I think this is great. I think it's great for them. I think they have great fighters. I think this little mini Khabib army they have going on here is great as well. And they're doing great. I feel like they're doing great. They have a good thing going on. They're building up a lot better now. There we go. Let's talk about this fight here real quick. Pretty good fight. It was okay. It wasn't the best fight. I mean, it was some good moments, right? Definitely some good moments, but it wasn't like a banger. If it was a 1 to 10, I'd probably give it like a 6.6, 6.7. Yeah, that's probably true, man. I mean, that's crazy. He didn't look like he wanted to be in there at all. Like even from the beginning of the fight, he didn't want to be in there. Crazy how he looked that bad. I didn't think I'd ever see him look that bad. But just recapping everything, Sean Strickland obviously getting that decision win over Uriah Hall. Cheyenne Bays with a beautiful head kick as Gloria's picking your hand up off the ground. It was very close to being a illegal kick, but crazy, absolutely, Alex. That jab of Sean Strickland, money all night, money all night. Put that eye of Uriah Hall out. Jared Gooden, beautiful 1-2 combination to end Nicholas Stoltz. Beautiful head kick by Bagdasarian. I think that's the way you say it. Bagdasarian over Colin Anderson. Put him down with a beautiful head kick. And wow, what a war by Jason Witt and Brian Barberena. Brian Barberena is low-key one of the most fun fighters to watch because he just doesn't go down. One of my favorite fights of him is him versus Vicente Luque. Beautiful fight. These guys go to war. Luque's losing for most of the fight until he's actually able to get a knockout with like 10 seconds left. Crazy fight. But great main card. We're just going to cover the main event because everybody else doesn't really have a lot of stipulations as far as ranking goes. That head kick was savage as fuck. It's freaking crazy. I loved it. I love violence. Violence is fun. So Uriah Hall. Let me see if we can pull up the stats here. Let's go. Oh, that's scheduled. I want to go past. I want to see some of the stats for this fight. Look at that. Total strikes, 221 to 122. Almost doubling him up on total strikes. So, man, the volume of Sean Strickland was there. And if you didn't get to watch the fight, just breaking it down real quick, round one was all Sean Strickland. I mean, whole fight really was on Sean Strickland, but that jab in round one really seemed to bother Uriah Hall. Uriah wasn't really moving his head too much. He was eating it, and then he would flinch late. It just didn't seem like he could really get into the fight. He was slow. He wasn't there mentally. Not really, not really there. Round two, again, Sean lands some good shots, but this time, actually, in the second half of the round, Uriah Hall comes out and he's actually walking down Sean. He's able to land a couple of shots, nothing too crazy, but you can see that he's fighting. I think that's the end of it. That's after that, we did not see a glimpse of hope from Uriah Hall. Round three, Sean able to actually hurt Uriah Hall, put him down, get some ground and pound. I thought Herb Dean was going to call the fight, but Uriah was able to move enough to show that he's fighting back, or at least, intelligently defending himself. Potential 10-8 round, in my opinion, there. 3-0. Sean Strickland going into the fourth round. Uriah Hall just does not seem to get it going. Strickland is laying a lot more, man. He was throwing a lot more volume. He was the much more better defensive boxer as well, because it was mostly a boxing match. Neither guy was throwing many kicks, but that jab was an absolute beauty of Sean Strickland. He was killing it all night long with the jab. Again, another instance where he gets Uriah Hall hurt again, doesn't put him out, but he almost does, and they give unanimous decision to Sean Strickland, which I think was a robbery. I think Uriah Hall did enough to win the fight. Totally kidding, by the way. Uriah Hall, nothing. He just, not there, man. He has the power, but it just seems like he overthinks it a lot, right? He overthinks too much going in. And like we said, look at the significant strikes: 186 to 107, and just the output, the total output, 472 to 273, throwing almost 200 more strikes. Just show exactly what happened that fight. Top control, he was able to get 7 minutes on top, 4 takedowns as well. Sean Strickland moving up in the middleweight division. Now, let's take a look at the UFC rankings. Let's look at the 185 division. And let's ask, who's next for Sean Strickland? Let's take a look at these 185 rankings. So, going into tonight, Strickland was 11. Hall was 8. Now you have Darren Till up there. Darren Till is scheduled to fight, I believe. I think he was supposed to fight somebody in London, if I'm correct, but I'm not exactly sure. I'm going to pull it up right now in my unofficial rankings. So Darren Till has a fight with Derek Brunson on the 4th. Jack Hermanson is coming off a win against Edmund Shabazian. Marvin Vettori is coming off a loss to Israel Adesanya. Jared Cannonier. He's fighting Kelvin Gastelum in 3 weeks. So who's next? That's a really good question because everybody's busy right now. But everybody won't be busy in a month and a half. So you take the loser of Derek Brunson versus Darren Till. I think that makes the most sense. Or you can take the loser of Kelvin Gastelum versus Jared Cannonier. I think either of those two guys make sense because if Kelvin Gastelum loses to Cannonier, he'd be on a 2-fight losing streak. And then you'd have him going up against the guy in Sean Strickland, who's on a 5-fight winning streak, who's second in the welterweight division active right now, behind the 10-fight winning streak of the best fighter in the debate, the best fighter in the UFC right now, Israel Adesanya. Feed him Vettori. I think it's a little soon for him to fight Vettori. I think for Vettori, you throw him against Paulo Costa. He's still, he only lost to the champion. You can see what you mean there. But he still, he beat Kevin, I don't know if he deserved that championship fight, so I can see what you're saying that. But you have, and I'll show you guys this other one as well, so you can see what I'm seeing. And obviously, these are unofficial rankings, but you have Costa taking that L to Adesanya, Vettori taking the L to Adesanya, Cannonier and Brunson both have fights with 8 and 9 on this website. I think, like I said, it's a little bit off. These guys rank individually, and it goes down to about 50, 60, so it's pretty cool. But now you have Sean Strickland, who's fighting number 8. Over here, they rank him number 10. You have him over 8. I think you have him fight either the loser of Cannonier versus Gastelum or the loser of Darren Till versus Derek Brunson. And then you can put him against the top 5 guy. And then now you have a new contender for Israel Adesanya. Doesn't beat him, though. Doesn't even click close. Adesanya would smack this guy. Strickland's good, don't get me wrong. But that jab shit, that's not going to work with Adesanya. It's not going to work with Adesanya. But all right, guys. Does anybody have any questions before we get this closed out? Thank you guys all for joining me. If you're joining me live, Alex, appreciate you joining the conversation, keeping this live, making this a lot more interactive. Appreciate that. Anybody that's joining or it's watching after the video goes live, appreciate you checking it out this late. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe. All that good shit. Yeah, appreciate you, Alex. I hope you enjoyed. Had lots of fun with you having you here. But overall, great night for MMA. Bellator, like we said, AJ McKee gets it done. Beautiful head kick. Able to get that $1 million championship. Putting Bellator on the map. Man, I felt like tonight, it was a very rare night where we actually got to see Bellator overshadow UFC. And I don't think this is the last time we'll see that happen. I think with UFC having so much more events, the cards are a lot thinner. So when you have these nights where you have a big Bellator card and then you have maybe a fight night for UFC, and obviously there was a lot of unfortunate falling outs. I think there was like 4 or 5 fights that got canceled for the UFC. So the only really good fight, which ended up just being okay, was the Hall fight. The card ended up being a banger, though. The entire UFC card was great. You can't take away from the fights, but as far as having heavy ranking implications or anything like that, it's a lot more up and comers. So the fights, not maybe as invested as the fighters as you see, but I thought it was great. But Bellator made a really big splash in the MMA world tonight. UFC obviously still doing their thing, still put on a great card. Congratulations to Sean Strickland to get it done. Big congratulations to AJ McKee for winning $1 million, going 18-0, 26 years old. Man, dude is doing it all. Big congratulations to him. Big thanks to everybody watching. Like I said, if you liked what you watched, make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe. All that good shit. So thank you as always for checking out the Three-Piece Combo MMA show brought to you by the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I'm your host, Jonathan, and I'll see you guys next week.